And a battle was fought there. The areas now that we see the Great Pyramid Complex used to have a stream that ran out to the Nile, the Blue Nile, and all of that area was jungle, verdant, foliage everywhere. Now what do you have? Desert. Check your deserts, and two things they will tell you are lies, and one that they tell you is truth. First of all, they'll tell you that anytime you see beaches and sandy, this was once an ocean bottom. That's one big lie. It may have been an ocean bottom, or it may have been fertile black soil that has been so radiated that it now is nothing but sand and nothing will grow on it. So be it as to what happened there. And unfortunately, black people did that. Unfortunately, there was a battle between the giant blacks and the little blacks. And some of the radiation things that happened there are still the fault, and this is why the penalty is being paid on the same land where the horrible thing was done. Let me explain this. They're looking at the pyramid complex, and they're saying, first of all, it's a burial plain for Mancuri, or I don't even want to go into that. You heard all that foolishness. I'm sorry, you heard all that kind of history before. I don't believe it, so I'm not going to repeat that. There are 3 pyramids there. Each one fed the larger pyramid, and they were never used as burial ground. You already know that in Luxor, in the Valley of the Kings, that's where the burials were. Mm-hmm. When a person was able to be buried in a great tomb, they were really being born again, because that great tomb was not a tomb at all. It's an orgone energy generator.
Initiation.
One of the largest and most complex built, and every planet under the sun that is metaphysical or magnetic will have a pyramid complex. That's how you can tell if the ancients were there before and whether they're part of what is called the Elysium. When they talk about the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber and the Grand Gallery, you're talking about a structure that can generate orgone energy. They don't like when you say orgone energy because they like to talk about electricity and sometimes magnetism, but there is a third force. What is it? Orgone. That is the ray of life that most of you came in on. That's the ray of life that you need. That's why you now need to have, here we go, organic foods, because you are organic people. You need to have original foods because you are original people. You have to have orgasms because that generates orgone energy, and the birth comes through on that kind of an energy field. Like the crystals are now coming in called our children. When you begin to get that kind of a generator, you now can align with other planets and other systems that have that, and you form a link. And through that link, you can travel on the biggest and best spaceship ever invented. It's not down at Alamogordo. It's not down at Cape Canaveral. It's not down in Cape Kennedy. It's in your bedroom with you. You carry it around with you. You just don't know how to get on board because you don't know how to start up the motors. It is called the Maka'apa. And there were whole books that taught you how to use that vehicle of travel, the same way the women came here. And then later on, the men came to another area. They taught that all along too. I have a women lecture which goes into that. And it shows again that when they had this great battle, they tore loose the very being, the very platform, the very airport by which they had come, and now they were stuck here, stuck in the same mess that they had created. The Sahara is a desert because they had giant beams using crystals that rayed back, and they used a black crystal, which is the worst kind you could use. It destroyed things, took the life out of the other crystals, the life out of the pineal crystal, and left you dumb. How many heard that? Think about it. You have the biggest and best crystal, which is represented by the Eye of Horus at the top of the main pyramid, in your skull now. It's called a pineal gland. The pineal gland is supposed to send out energy throughout your body, regulate the pituitary gland, and they teach you in anatomy and physiology just as effort. They say that the master gland is what? Pituitary gland. The master gland is a pineal gland because The pineal gland, when it goes bad, the pituitary gland goes crazy, and you might get gigantism, you might get dwarfism, you might get cancer, you might get anything, because it's under control of the pineal gland. Why? Because the pineal gland is the seat of your soul on the upper level. The orchic gland is the seat of your soul on the lower level. What am I saying here? You have two suns. You have a sun in your head, you have a sun in your lower plexus. The orchic, most people don't even talk about. And when you talk about the pineal gland, they don't give it the credit they should. They say in the physiology textbooks, it's a vestigial gland of unknown origin that's now atrophied and of very little usage. A vestigial gland of unknown origin, now atrophied and of very little usage. Well, that means your soul ain't worth you know what. Because that's where your soul gets its vibrations from. Just to digress on that, we'll go back to the main thing again. Have you ever heard the term, the worm turns? How many have heard it before, the worm turns? People say it means that when you get a rat in the corner, a worm in the corner, it's going to turn on you and that's it. That's not what they meant at all. In what is called the Turkish taristika, the hypothalamus is a bone structure in the middle of your head in which you have your pituitary gland hanging here, sitting like in a Turkish saddle, and beneath it on the ligament is your pineal gland. It spins around like a pine cone. It's called pineal gland. Constantly, when the soul comes into a body and it seats itself, the brain sutures. There's a big suture on that cranial area, which they call the skull. The ancient ones, and the last thing that the Greeks remembered, because they remember when they talk about the Dogons and Toartics, the ancient ones used to say, when a child is born, don't ever, during its developing step over it. Why did they say that? Because when the soul comes into a body and seats itself well in, the skull closes, it sutures. Now you're locked in for a lifetime, whatever that lifetime will be. Before that time, when it's open, souls can come and go, the soul is still making up its mind, and it can be free to go and come. But once it sutures, that's it. And if you notice in all anatomies, back on white skulls or what, whether the pigmentation is there or not, you see that little suturing. That's because it is closed. They've had all kind of ways to explain that. But once it's locked in, you're now seated. When you leave in death, or you leave in astral flight, there's a little opening that you can begin to create again, and your soul can come and go. That's what's called a passage. Why did I throw all that out? Because it means that since you are not the body, every so often you have to leave. When you have to leave, you call it sleep. And you have to go to sleep probably every 3.5 days, or you will sleep standing up, you'll sleep driving a car, you don't know what you're going to be, because you are not the body, you have to come out of the body. In the Great Pyramid, people came out of their bodies that were selected at will. Not in sleep, but in total awareness and awakeness. The King's Sepulchre was when elite people who were able to go and raise a Merkaba would lay in the sepulchre, guard their body, and they would go on flights to the end of the cosmos, to wherever they wanted to, while still having the physical body here, and that was called raising the great ship Merkaba. That's where we get our word van. Merkaba. The vehicle of light for the Ka and the Ba, the spirit and the soul. And that way, that person could go out, tell you what was happening before, come back, give you instructions, see if you're still in unison, if you've learned anything in your school here on Earth, and were you ready to go back and forth. When a whole planet, people could go back and forth, then the whole planet can move. What did he say again? The man talks so much crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
A whole planet can move. When its unison are together, then the planet moves. Other than that, you move from the planet, come back to the planet, bringing forth enlightenment, or going either straight, whatever you want to do. That is what you call channeling, that's what you call cosmic light, and that's what you call now coming into one minded thought. Because then you control the planet will honor you, and many things happen. It's beginning to happen a little bit again. Let's go back now, jump back and forth with you again, to what we were talking about when I said again, that this energy was coming up and knocking out satellites.